Today I'm going to be ranking every midsole that I've tried in 2023. So out of the 27 running shoes that I've tested this year, there are 17 midsoles for me to rank on the comfort scale and then put into a category as to if I found them great, good, average or below par. So with 17 to go through, let's dive straight in. So let's start with the 361 Centauri. I'm going to put this one slap bang in the middle between super soft and super firm. This was a wonderful midsole, full length TPE. Now this one came in for me 1st of January. I got it just before then for a few test runs, but that was the release date, so the first shoe I tested this year. Very much a daily trainer, very Pegasus-like, and really a surprise package for me. I really enjoyed it, and this was a really good midsole. So I'm going to put this one in the good category. Light Strike Pro is up next from Adidas. The Takumi Sen 9 was the one that I tested this year, and of course I've tried it in the Adios Pro 3 last year. This midsole is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to put this one just past the midway point. This is a lovely, incredible foam, the premium racing foam from Adidas, which is being seen in a few of their shoes this year, a few more shoes I should say, being sprinkled in, but mainly used for their racing shoes, and it really is a gem. One of my favourites. I love it in the Pro 3, and it was just as good in the Takumi, so this one is going in the excellent category. Next up, Flight Foam Blast Plus from Asics, a foam that I absolutely love. I think you guys know where this one's going, straight into the excellent category. Tested this in a multitude of shoes before, but this year in the Cumulus 25, a shoe that I would never have thought to have picked up. Very grateful for Pro Direct to send me the shoe, and a shoe that I'm now one run away from getting 100 miles in. It's been one heck of a great daily trainer, something I've gravitated towards on my easy days, and it has been just incredible this year in that shoe. And then spinning off to a slight variation is Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco, the foam they're using in the Nova Blast Plus 4, something that I just feel isn't quite gelling with me at the moment. I've loved all the Nova Blast, you guys know that, and this version I was going to say is no different. I'm not quite clicking with it like I have in previous versions, and I do feel the foam has definitely been nerfed in some way, shape or form. It's not quite what it was in previous versions. I think the closest version of the Nova Blast I can put this 4 to is the 2. It's very much an easy day trainer for me. Got, as I said, an extra run in there, and yeah, it's just not got the magic that it had. So I'm going to have to put this Eco version in the average section. Moving on to Brooks DNA Loft version 2. In the comfort score, definitely going to go much more towards the soft section, but I've got to be honest with you, this is a foam that I haven't really enjoyed that much this year. When I talk about responsiveness with foams, we're talking about what does the foam give you back? When you land on the ground, what pop do you get back? Does it give you any feedback? Does it propel you down the road? And what I found with the DNA Loft version 2 is you just kind of sink and you don't get anything back. It really isn't a responsive foam. So you can talk about all these lovely, soft, nice cushion shoes, and they're great. What do they give you back? How responsive are those foams? This definitely isn't one that's responsive, and for me, just not the most enjoyable ride. So this is the first one that I'm going to have to put in the below par section. And joining it down there in the below par section, the Hoka's Clifton foam, the compression molded EVA that we've seen in so many of their shoes. This shoe started off really well for me, loved it, felt great. Obviously I've always found with Hoka shoes you get that lovely soft light feeling, but you don't get a massive amount of responsiveness, but you do get something back, and it is a relatively enjoyable foam. It's not the most liveliest, but it's definitely comfortable, and so I've always got on with it really well in previous shoes, but I've always found that they flatten off quite quickly, and that was very much the case with the Clifton. Still got plenty of life left in it, but I really felt towards the end of the 100 miles that I've put in the shoe so far, it flattened out massively, completely different ride to what it felt like earlier on in the first few runs. A lovely shoe in the first section, in the latter stages, something that I really struggled with. So yeah, it's gonna have to go down there in the below par section. Now on the flip side, the Piba foam that's coming out of Hoka, now that gets a good score. So in the Mach X, there's a good chunk of their new Piba based foam, which is what you can find in the Rocket X2. The Rocket X2 obviously has full length Piba foam, nothing else. The Mach X has a dual layer midsole where it's got their ProFly EVA and then this Piba stuff. Now for me, although I can't, what I would say, give it a full score because there is a dual layer midsole there, I do find the Piba foam has made a humongous difference to the shoe. It's wonderful, and I'm definitely going to put it up there in the good category. And moving on to Nike's Zoom X midsole. We all know about this midsole, and I'm going to put it straight into the excellent category. However, there is a caveat with this. I've tested it in the racing shoes, the Vaporflies, and in particular this year, I'm talking about the Vaporfly 3. I love the midsole, it's such a great midsole. But of course, they sprinkle this midsole in across a range of their shoes. Sometimes it's encased in their SRO2 foam, which can often not be as exciting, and it's a recycled version of it. So I'm very much talking about ZoomX in its purest form, that's not recycled, not chunks of it wrapped in a wrapper. Let's just get that very clear. And of course, when it comes to the soft and comfort scale that I've put there, I'm marking it based on it having a carbon plate in it, so you get a little bit of stiffness with it. Of course, if I was marking it on something like the Invincible 1 and 2, I haven't tried the 3, but I did run in the 1 once, and that was super marshmallowy. That would be right up there at the top of the scale. That will be the softest midsole in this video, but I am comparing it with the carbon plate in there, and I'm kind of ranking it based on that. So it does have a slight bit of stiffness to it, but it's still that lovely, super soft, responsive midsole that we all know Nike does well. And then we move on to On's shoes, the Helion Hyperfoam that I found in the On Cloudboom Echo 3, the closest foam that I've found to Lightstrike Pro, which is one of my favourite midsoles that we talked about. So this is going straight into the excellent category. On the comfort scale, just slightly over midway into the soft section, but it is still a little bit firmer. It's certainly not as soft as some of the other super shoes out there, but my word, isn't it an incredible midsole foam? I love it. I'd love to see more of On shoes use it. It would be brilliant to see some of it in like a fast training shoe, a fast training partner. I know in some of their other shoes, which we're about to talk about, they use their Helion Superfoam. I'd love to see this Hyperfoam sprinkled in to a training shoe. I think it could make a really good one. Speaking of which, the Helion Superfoam from On, which I've tested in the On Cloud Flow 4, the On Cloud Stratus 3, and the On Cloud Eclipse. There's been a variation of this foam, so I'm going to move it just slightly into the firmer section because it is not super soft. It is slightly on the firmer side of things, but it is still a wonderful foam. And the best thing about it, it is responsive. So you do get a good bounce from that foam. Now, of course, in the Stratus, there was the speedboard in there. On the On Cloud Eclipse, there's not. In the Cloud Flow 4, there is a speedboard. And of course, in a couple of the shoes, they're using their cloud technology. So there's a different variety of ways that they've used the foam. But overall, I'm trying to kind of piece this together as to how I found it across the 3 shoes. And it's been really good. So I'm definitely going to put it in the good category. And then moving on to Puma's Nitro Elite Foam. Love this foam. This is going straight into the excellent category. The Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 2 is one of my favourite shoes of this year. Still doing a lot of training in it. Haven't done any runs in it over the last couple of weeks, but it's definitely going to get plenty more miles, and I really enjoy it. The foam in this shoe is wonderful, coupled with the plate. It's such a good package. So definitely this Nitro Elite foam is going right up there in the excellent. And then I'll put Puma's more standard foam, the Nitro, into the good category. Now, I've tested the Magnify Nitro 2 and the Forever Run Nitro this year, and it is one of the softest midsoles I've tried, right at the end of the spectrum, end of the scale. Lovely and soft, lovely and bouncy, and responsive. Brilliant foam, and I echo what so many of you say on my videos. Puma shoes, great value for money, brilliant product. So again, they've got their premium midsole in their excellent section and their standard daily trainer option midsole in the good section. And then we move on to some of my favorite midsoles of the year. Saucony's midsoles, my brand of the year, and they've got some more really exciting stuff coming next year by the look of it. So we'll start off with the Power Run HG foam that we found in the Saucony Endorphin Elite. Now, this ranking on the comfort scale might interest some of you. A lot of you that have watched reviews about it and have been unsure on the shoe, you've heard a lot of people probably say it's on the firmer side of the spectrum. I kind of find it more on the softer. It is firmer than ZoomX, but not too much for me, and I think it comes down to being a bigger runner. 6'6", around 13.5 stone, or 86, 87 kilos, somewhere there or thereabouts. If you've seen or follow Nick Bear on YouTube, you'll know he's just run a 2:38 marathon. He's a bigger runner. I feel like this shoe kind of works for bigger runners. We put more into the shoe, we get more out of the shoe. It has been my #1 racing shoe, and this HG foam is absolutely magic. So for me, without a doubt, straight up into the excellent category. Moving down a notch to Power Run Plus. No PB this year because I haven't tried any 2023 shoes with PB in it. So Power Run Plus for the Ride 17 and the Triumph 21. Slap bang in the middle of the comfort score. Perfect combination between super soft and super firm. It is right in the middle. Beauty of it, responsiveness. One of the most responsive midsoles that you will find. I've done another amazing long run in the Ride 17 and it is absolutely flying. I shifted and the shoe is heavy and it does not matter. That midsole is on another level. So again, that is a really another quality one, and that one is going into the excellent category. And then finally down to the standard power run. Now this is an interesting one because I've tested the Ride 16, the Guide 16 and now the Kinvara 14, all with power run foam in there. And the Guide 16 and the Ride 16, definitely the compound in that midsole was firmer and denser than what I'm finding in the Kinvara. So I'm going to put it into the good category because I'm finding it so amazing in the Kinvara. If it was just the Kinvara, I might even bump it up to the excellent category. But because it was in the Ride 16 and Guide 16 and it was a little bit firmer, denser and not quite as exciting, I'm very aware that there's just different compounds there, different ways that they're putting the foam together for different shoes for different purposes. So there's obviously a lighter version I'm using in the Kinvara and a heavier one in the other two. So that one still is really good and that is going in the good category. And finally, last but not least, the North Face Summit Vective. The foam that they put in that shoe, there's no label for it. I haven't been able to find what they call it. On their website it's the foam. Even back when I tested it, there was no name for it. So we're just going to call it the North Face Summit Vective midsole foam. That one's going straight into the good category. A shining star part of that shoe. When I tested it, it was a really fun shoe. I loved it. First trail shoe that I tested of the year with a carbon plate in it. Really wonderful, moved fast, lovely fitting shoe. And that midsole was a gem. It really was good. I'd love to put more miles in it. I don't tend to use that many trail shoes just because our trails are runnable all through the year. There's only a couple of times in the year really where it's a little bit dicey, but overall I just tend to stay with road shoes. But this one is definitely going into the good category. So there we go, those are my rankings on the 17 midsoles that I've tested this year. As you can see by the final graphic, loads in the excellent and good category, only one in the average and a couple in the below par. So I do feel very lucky that a lot of the shoes I've tested, and the midsoles in particular, have been great. Now if you feel brave and you don't mind sharing, it'd be great to hear what your height and weight is and then what your thoughts are on midsoles, because what you have to bear in mind is, as I highlighted in the Power Run HG section, I am 6'6", I am 86 kilograms, 13.5 stone. I'm going to have a totally different experience to someone that's a lot lighter or a lot heavier than me. So it'd be great if you can share what your thoughts are down in the comments below in terms of the comfort scores in particular. It'd be great to hear from you down there. Share those thoughts and share them with everyone out there. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then.